Welcome everyone to the another episode of Ganesh Power Podcast. Today we have with us Mr. Priyadarshan Sahasrabudhe. He is the CEO of a company named Vayu. So Vayu is a company which has made a device which converts biological food waste, the biodegradable food waste, into energy. So today we are going to talk about his company, his device, and in general about climate and nature. So first of all, thank you, sir, for joining.
Thanks, Ganesh. Thanks for conversing with me.
Okay. So first of all, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we can take it from there.
Okay. My name is Priyadarshan, and I am the founder of the name of my company. Actually, Ganesh is Chakrakar Lifestyle Solutions. Okay. Vayu is the name of our product. I'm an engineer. I've studied engineering from IIT Bombay, and after that, I got an opportunity to work on social challenges, under which I lived and worked in Gadchiroli for a few months, and then in Nashik district for for 2 years. After that, I joined our family business, which is a manufacturing company where we make auto components and furniture. And while I was working there simultaneously to manage the waste at our company, I set up the first biogas plant under the guidance of Dr. Anand Karve. And that's where began my tryst with this amazing technology or biology, whatever we may call it, of these microbes called methanogens.
So like we'll go into the details later. So first of all, for now, just give us a general idea of what Vayu does or your company, Chakrakar company.
Yeah.
So in general,
So
like what
Chakrakar, yes. Chakrakar Lifestyle Solutions, the name actually means that everything in nature, all the processes in nature are cyclic. And the Indian word, the Hindi Marathi word for that is chakra. Chakrakar. So all natural processes are circular in nature. And we as humans, if we want to be a part of this nature, we have to ensure that our lifestyle also fits in these chakras. We have gone away or broken these chakras, and as a result, we are damaging the world around us. Through our startup, we develop solutions so that you and I, common people, can live environment friendly, sustainable lifestyles. So that's the broad idea behind our organization. I also like to call it a climate startup, a startup which is exclusively existing so that we can solve for the climate crisis. And our first solution is Vayu. And with Vayu, a common person like you, for example, can start to make your own energy from your own waste. And you can actually participate in being a solution to the climate crisis. So this is what we envision through Vayu. We want common people to be able to make their own energy from their own waste, so that we address our waste problem on the one hand, and on the other, we develop decentral ways of making energy, renewable energy, which helps us to wean ourselves from fossil fuels. So this is the thought process of behind why we are.
So basically, you said that you started all this thing when you were working your family business, right? To manage the waste. So take us back there and just tell us like what was the first step? Like the first Vayu, actually the first device that you made, it didn't have the name Vayu, right? You came up with the name afterwards. So just tell
Yes.
us about the journey of how do you came up with the actual design, and when did you decide, okay, I can make a business out of it, or this can be a good solution.
Okay. Right. It was a very unplanned and organic process. And since my college days, I wanted to do something related to environment. And I joined the family business really to understand what business is all about. I wanted to use that as a medium to solve the problems that we have created. And I was exploring and trying out various avenues for this environment related work. Amongst them was, of course, simultaneously, of course, was about ensuring that we as an organization, me as an individual, also am doing whatever I can is in my capacity. And so I started with composting of food waste. We are about 100 people who work together in the organization, and so we generate about 4 or 5 kilos of food waste every day. So to manage that, I started with composting, and I had heard about the biogas technology. I had heard a lecture by Dr. Anand Karve, who's a scientist who has done some fundamental work on this science. And I got a chance opportunity to go and meet him. And in that discussion, we got talking, and he just gave me a CD which had a video guide, which was a video guide to make your own biogas plant. So using that, I made my first device. And of course, he was guiding me wherever I was facing problems. And that was how it all began. Okay. But what happened was, because I was using it, it was my responsibility that it actually worked. So I used to operate it, I used to feed it. At that time, I used to crush the food waste in a mixer and then feed it. And I was the user basically. And so all the pains of using that system, I was actually bearing that pain. And that was, I consider myself very lucky, because that is when I started to apply my mind and all the engineering that I learned to actually reduce my own pain and to make it easy. So I started improving it. It was a very tough phase of my life, because on the one hand, I had a really nice degree from the best institution in our country. Yet when it came to applying it, putting it to use, putting it into practice, I had very little confidence. Typically, in physics, say for example, you model the challenge that you're facing, you build some physics around it, and you arrive at some conclusion. Okay. Now, me being really bad at arithmetic, if I arrive at some answer, say 25 kg, I had no engineering confidence. As an engineer, I should know approximately what the answer is. Whereas by doing the maths, I can get the exact value. So neither did I have engineering confidence, nor did I have confidence on my arithmetic. Maybe I have made some arithmetic mistake. So those were the difficult times that I was trying to go through. Okay. So I actually started practicing engineering because of this. And after we did some improvements, I realized that this is really nice now. This is really easy. I had eliminated the need to crush the food waste. We had made it very easy to feed. And so I felt, this makes sense. Now I can install it at home. I can tell my friends, my relatives to start using it. This looks good. And so that's how I almost insisted, or what should I say? I didn't force, but I really insisted some of my closest friends and family to set up the system at their home. And they readily agreed. I also made them pay for it. So in some sense, I found my customer. I found a paying customer. So that's how it began. And then it just grew organically. And it was all organic. So through the word of mouth, people got to know about it, and then we started installing, and we consistently kept taking user feedback and improving. So we kept improving along the way. Yeah, that's how it began.
So like initially there are like two types of challenges. One is the actual engineering challenge of building that thing, right? And second one is the convincing people to like actually buy it and use it. So like we'll talk about both. So but first we'll just talk about the engineering itself of the device. So like what is it and how it works? Like what is the
So
chemistry, mechanics
basically,
behind it?
yeah. So you can look at this as a combination of biology and engineering. Okay. So the engineering is around that biological magic that happens, and we are just enclosing it in such a way that we make it conducive for the biology to work. Okay. So all the engineering is what we build around it. And all the biology is what happens inside it. Okay. So basically, this science is that these microbes are rather different from most life forms. And what is the difference? Is that they need oxygen, but they cannot source their oxygen as oxygen. So, for example, we can breathe oxygen, okay, but we can't go inside water and breathe dissolved oxygen, right? So, these microbes, they can't even breathe oxygen in the air or oxygen dissolved in water. Rather, they source their oxygen from a carbohydrate molecule. Okay. And a carbohydrate molecule is what does it consist of? Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Now, if you remove the oxygen from it, what remains back is a carbon and hydrogen, which is a hydrocarbon. In this case, methane. So, very simply put, I have tried to explain the science in very, very simple terms. This is the magic around which we are trying to make a useful application.
So like, but there are so many devices which have been used before, right? So like basically converting food waste or any kind of biodegradable substance into fuel is not like new idea. So like what you did different other than those previous devices that made your device different.
Yes, I'll just go one step before. We initially began with gobar gas. And the fundamental value addition that Dr. Anand Karve made was that in order for you to operate the biogas plant, you don't need a continuous supply of gobar. Once you have the microbes in place, you can feed it any kind of food. Now, that was a very, very important, I would say, innovation or discovery, invention, almost it's an invention, or it's a new idea that you're giving to the world, which is the contribution of Dr. Karve. And he also made a prototype, which the first one that I made was based on his guidelines. What I have done different is I have worked on the engineering aspect of it. So Dr. Karve's contribution was to make a working prototype and prove that this actually works. My contribution is to make it easy for the user. So most of my work has been around making it easy for the user. Okay, number one. Number two, another important contribution has been that being the user. Okay, so when I am the user, I am not going to trouble myself. I am going to ensure that I make design changes and make my life easy. I think this is the leg which has not been worked on in the past. Because what has happened? The gobar gas plants, the user were people in the villages who had supply of cattle, supply of dung, and it was designed by other people sitting in somewhere else. Now, that user study or user pain, I think, was not sufficiently addressed. Number one. Therefore, if the pain is not addressed, then the user is not going to use it for long. Number two, the system was not purchased by the user. Rather, it was purchased by the government. So there wasn't a customer relationship with the user. And because of that, the customer, if the customer is a paying customer, if you have some problem with your phone, you will dial the helpline, right? And you will demand that the problem be solved because you have paid for it. Now that commitment to ensure that the system works was therefore absent. Okay. And then there wasn't a service which was provided. So there could be a really, really small problem. As small as say the pipe has some leakage because some mouse has nibbled on it. It's a very, very small problem to solve. It's a very easy problem even to identify. But as a user, they may not know how to identify. So if you don't provide the service, then also the systems are not going to last. So these are some of my observations about why the existing systems may not have worked. Okay. And further, it was not an urban solution. It was largely considered to be a rural solution. I think these are some of my thoughts about why things didn't work in the past.
So basically, you converted into like proper customer-based product instead of just some initiative, because these were the things used by government so that farmers could have some another help for their income, right? So it wasn't made for customers from the beginning. So basically, you may converted into a proper customer-based product. Right?
Yes, and yes, I mean we are walking in that direction. We are trying to find a customer, a paying customer, because we are giving them a value. Okay, and plus I tell you, over the past 10 years, maybe a decade or so, the whole idea around climate, fossil energy depletion are gradually reaching common people, these ideas. Therefore, we are able to reach out to these people who really are concerned about these challenges. That is another thing that is on our side.
We'll come to
working on our side.
Yeah, so we'll come to climate change and that part later on. So we'll just talk a bit more about your device itself. So whenever I search on internet about these things like biogas and all, so usually people who installed it anyway have some complaints about like it smells, and since you throw your garbage at it, like it stinks, right? So like have you like conquer that problem that it should be aesthetic, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
the product part of it.
Yeah. So honestly speaking, the product aspect of it was something we came to pretty late. And I learned it the hard way. And I learned it by realizing that even me, when I am taking a purchase decision, I definitely value how the product looks.
Right.
Okay. So simple things like if there is a scratch on the product, we consider it to be of a lesser value. Okay. But if I know that this scratch has come because it was not wrapped with plastic, okay, during the transport to save the use of plastic, then I am willing to tolerate the scratch. So as a social entrepreneur, we were not really educated about taking a product to a market. And I had the extreme luxury of being guided by people around me to put this idea in my mind that your product has to be good looking. So all these aspects about how the product looks, about how you find how do you dialogue with a person in front who is coming as a customer. We are learning these things gradually now, so that we can really stand strong on our feet as a business. So we are learning these things now the hard way. First, I used to think your idea, the fact that your product is solving a problem, is enough. But then I realized it's not enough. You have to understand how to sell. So we learned how to sell. I mean, we are learning how to do it. And then I learned that even having the sales skills are not enough. Your product has to look good. So the design aspect of your product. So we are now incorporating that also in our product. So gradually we are adding completeness to our work as and when we are feeling the need to do it.
Because at the end what happens is people don't want their own waste in their own house, right? They just want to get rid of it, and you are providing a solution where yes, it's getting converted into energy, but they have to keep their waste into their own home. So like somehow you have to give them that idea that yes, it's in your house, but you won't be bothered by that.
Yeah, to be honest with you, smell is a very, very important aspect. And I have experienced the pain of bad smell. Okay. So I completely value or respect if somebody asks question like, "Arey, it will smell" and so on. But I'll tell you what. So we definitely worked on that. And the first improvement over Dr. Karve's model was that we made our digester independent and our gas storage independent. But what we achieved because of that was our system became an entirely closed system. And so the entire thing of smell was eliminated. Okay. Yeah, that was the thing about smell. What I wanted to tell you was, yeah. So what happens ki many a times if we don't store our waste properly, the waste starts to smell. Right. If you don't put it inside Vayu properly, and if some food is lying around here and there, it doesn't even look good, and it may also smell badly. So you have to operate it properly, and that is a part of training, including, and it's small instructions like after you feed, take a cloth and just wipe it. It will take 3 seconds to do it, but because it is dry, it will ensure that there will be no smell. So these small instructions, and finally, no matter how evolved we have become, even after Corona, and even we are having this talk sitting at home, I cannot send you smell over WhatsApp or give you this experience of smell digitally yet. So the ultimate proof is in the pudding. I mean, the proof of the pudding lies in eating it. So I invite people to my house, and we stand over there and we stand and talk for 15 minutes, standing right next to Vayu. That's the ultimate pariksha.
So basically, you have solved that issue, right? So
the smell issue is solved. It's long solved.
Right. Because that is one of the biggest issue with waste. And
yes.
And another one issue that I came up with was the what I call it, the security of it, right? That it's a gas, right?
Safety.
Safety is the right word for it. So people are very worried about gas cylinders, right? So what we have done with your system? What are the safety what you can say instrument that you used?
Yeah. See, the fundamental reason for Vayu safety is its simplicity. Okay. And jokingly, I tell people, so you are sitting on this wooden chair. Okay. This has more energy as wood than the gas in the balloon. But do you ever feel unsafe about sitting on the chair? Okay. So basically, because we are making energy every day and using that on the same day. Okay. We are not like LPG creating 15 kilo of gas, storing 50 kilo of gas, which for 30 days, it will last you for 30 days. So on day one, you have 30 days worth of gas sitting in that cylinder. So you have a large quantity of gas in a very, very small volume, and therefore you have to pressurize it. So high pressure and high density of energy, therefore, are the fundamental reasons why LPG is significantly a higher safety risk as compared to our biogas balloons. So even if something happens to the balloons, it will not sort of explode because there is no pressure. So many a times I say that it is like being below the radar. So they fly planes below the radar, something like that, because so the radar cannot catch that plane, right? So you operate in such a simple domain, so simply. There is no external energy that is used. You are not compressing the gas. You are not pumping in additional energy to pressurize it. So that simplicity, this entire device, there's no electricity requirement. This entire device is run on the work being done by those microbes, including supplying gas right up till your kitchen.
Basically, the people who didn't understand it, like there are two things. The first one is that it's not stored, so it's not 15 kg cylinder at once. That's the first point. So even if something happens, it's not going to blow up your entire house. The first thing is that.
Definitely not.
And second one, that it will not blow up because it doesn't have a pressure. So the reason cylinders, normal gas cylinders blow up, because they are pressurized under very high pressure to convert the gas into liquid, right?
Yes, correct. Correct.
Safety is already addressed.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, there are safety laws.
Yeah,
okay?
I was coming.
So
I was about to ask, are there any government regulations on use of biogas?
Yes.
Like at your home.
So the law that is applicable for storage of inflammable gases. There is a law in place. However, the law is applicable if you are storing the gas at absolute pressure of 2 bar or more. The law is applicable only at absolute pressure 2 bar or more.
It doesn't apply to.
We are operating at 1 bar. Okay. So that is what I call being below the radar. I'll give you another example of below the radar application. The electric cycle, not the motorcycle, just the cycle which has an additional motor. So bicycle. You are actually cycling it, a bicycle. You're cycling with your own muscular energy most of the times. If you feel tired, you can just take support of the motor. Now that does not require you to have a license, because there is a speed limit, something like 10 kilometers per hour, 25. I don't know the exact speed limit, but because the whole device cannot go ahead more than that speed, the law is not applicable, and therefore there is no license. So if you observe, we are going back towards living simply. When we are talking about Chakrakar lifestyle or a climate friendly lifestyle, gradually you are going closer to biology. You're gradually working in limits in which biology operates. Even the cycle, you're operating it biologically when you are riding it, and just partially augmenting it if needed. So I believe these are two really these give me an idea of probably what the future is going to be like. It's going to be a lot of science which is applied so that things become rather simple for you. And in their simplicity is their safety, is their environment friendliness, okay, is their decentrality. And therefore, they work under the radar. They don't need a law basically to govern or control anything that's happening.
Basically, it doesn't have enough power to do something harm. So it doesn't come under that law itself.
Yeah. Yet it can be so useful.
Right. So as you're saying, like about we are going back, right? It's like the same thing. Firstly, we used people who didn't know, people who were illiterate. They used to use their thumb as signature. Then we came to signature. Now we are again going back to biometric. So again, we are completing a cycle. So it's the same thing.
Yeah. Interesting. That's an interesting metaphor. Yeah.
So there are 2-3 things that we address, right? The first one was the smell and aesthetic part of it. The second one was the security, safety part of it. Now I just want to come over the financial aspect of it. So whenever you are buying something or you are selling something to a customer, you have to justify the cost of that device, right? So tell us a little bit about the financial of your device, Vayu. So for example, let's say I am a customer.
Yeah. See, my pitch is very, as of now, okay, it's rather simple. Okay. this is a semi-commercial decision. See, if you look back and if you consider the past 5 decisions you took of buying, okay, and if I ask you to put a value in front of it, and if I ask you now, that the value part is the quantitative part, but if I ask you qualitatively, tell me what benefit it is going to accrue to the world at large. So you will realize that most of our purchase decisions are for our convenience. Okay. So, do you travel by train?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Have you traveled by AC compartment?
Not yet.
Not yet. Or did you
Because
fly to a destination instead of taking the train?
no, actually, I have traveled very less. So
You have traveled very less. Yeah.
most of the travel I have done with car. So car also has
Yeah.
AC.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. For example, do you take cab?
yes.
Uber, Ola, etc.
Yes.
Well, suppose the cab takes 350 rupees and then it is possible to go in 25 by bus. What is the difference between 25 and 350?
Convenience of the
Convenience, right? So most of our decisions in life are about convenience. They are not about affordability. For many people, okay? For many people. What we have decided right now, ki initially, while we are at the beginning stage, we want to say ki this is what you are going to spend. Okay? Is going to fulfill your need. But you do not get a good night's sleep just because you got a new refrigerator. Okay, samadhan, right? Satisfaction. But when you feed your food waste into Vayu and when you start cooking on the gas which you have earned, it gives you satisfaction. So our pitch currently is of that kind to people. See, hey, listen, you could afford 10 times the device that I am offering to you. Okay, affordability is not the problem, but at such a less cost, you are going to be able to add your little contribution to make a difference to the world. So broadly, our pitch is related to that. But having said that, it definitely saves your money. For example, and see, in terms of LPG, now the cylinder is around 1000 rupees. The commercial cylinder is around 2100 rupees, 2100. So when it comes to commercial use, there is a payback of around 3 years or less. In case of home use, the payback can be 5 years, 6 years, sometimes. Okay, but that is not the reason why the person is going to buy at home. Okay, the person is going to buy it for other reasons. So this is where this is where our pitch stands right now. And so, for example, if I ask you a question, ki 20, and we are going to people with this thought. 28th of February is Science Day. And we are reaching out to people saying, okay, let's celebrate Science Day. Okay, when you celebrate your birthday, you spend, right? What do you get back? What do you get out of it? What is the payback of your birthday spending?
It's a joy for a day. That's what it is.
You get friends, you have food together. So let's celebrate Science Day by actually doing something. So since Vayu is completely science at work and it's giving you energy independence, we are reaching out to people saying, ki, chalo, let's celebrate Science Day, saying ki from today, I have stopped using LPG. And whatever you have spent, okay, is going to inspire 100 other people. That's the value of your spending. And when 100 other people get inspired, 100 times the problem gets solved than what you are solving individually. So we are trying to reach out to people in this way right now. Okay. Yeah.
So like basically you are following the model of like Tesla itself. So when the Tesla actually started making cars, they didn't make the affordable cars first. They made the like high-end cars first, just to make a statement that okay, electric car can be a possible, right? it can be a car that can go as fast as a petrol car with the same range. So that they made the first cars which were like around $100,000 or like $1 million for one car, right? It was that costly, but that created a buzz, that created that climate change narrative. And once enough people knew about the Tesla brand, then they said, okay, now we have an affordable one, and then everybody started buying it. So are you like following that model?
Maybe, but I'm not sure if I'm following that model. I'm simply following the model of a social entrepreneur, hmm, who needs a customer to survive.
Right.
That's all. And I need a paying customer. That's my limitation right now. How much ever I would like to reach out to people in villages, because I feel that they cook on wood, and because of that there is smoke, and that's a health issue. How much ever I feel that I want to go and solve that problem, right now I have not crossed the affordability barrier for rural citizens. But I have definitely crossed the affordability barrier for urbanites. Because my system costs less than what the family spends on mobile phones.
A single phone sometimes.
Sometimes single phone. I mean, no doubt about it. Sometimes single phone. But so essentially, I have learned, or everything does not have to be cheap to be useful. And from day one, I mean.
But do you think
so probably
like it is the problem of like economy of scale? So like when you build something on scale, it automatically becomes cheap, right?
Yes. So that is definitely, yes, the scale will help us to reduce price. Also, the market is not always free. A lot of government spending happens, and then we get the service at a certain price.
Right.
Okay. I mean, and I'm not taking this too far away, but believe me, we have fought wars
for oil.
Okay. For oil. Now, who did that spending?
As a taxpayer, we did.
Of course, we did that. So, but the government is not spending so that you get renewable energy from waste. The moment, on the one hand, what is happening? Because of scale, we are going to be able to reduce price. Okay. Fuel prices are continuously going to rise. And very soon, that tipping point is going to come where we are going to be competitive as a market option. And that time there is going to be huge acceptance. And I'll give you an example. We experienced that acceptance recently on one day. In one day, the commercial LPG price rose from 1,700 rupees to 2,000 rupees in one day.
Right.
Yesterday we visited a canteen, and the lady who runs the canteen, that ma'am was telling me, last year we were hovering around 1,300, 1,350. Today price is 2,100. 50% rise almost. So yeah, we are very happy when LPG prices rise. I am LPG free for past 3 years now. So whenever LPG prices rise, my saving increases. So I am very happy. More people are interested in Vayu. So yeah, so honestly, the renewable world should not be worried too much, because fossils are going to finish. So I mean, no power in the world can stop the fossil energy from finishing, because it is limited.
So I was I was just reading yesterday that we have only oil left till 2060. At the current rate of consumption, we have only oil which will supply us around to 2060. And after that, we will completely rely on petroleum gas, which is LPG. So that will get exhausted in next 10 years. So we have only time up to 2070 at max.
Yeah, after and we are in 2020.
So 50 years.
So most likely we will be alive at that time.
100%. Even the people who are in their 30s will be there to experience this.
Right? Yeah. So the point is that, and see, listen, it's not that everything is fine. and from tomorrow there is no petrol. It's not going to happen like that. That tension is going to build up
Right. Yes.
as the supply starts to reduce. And see, we are not living in a world where we are saying we should consume less. Every year we consume more and more, and that has been the trend. See, because fuel was available in such abundance that as a civilization we had the luxury of consuming like never before, and we made the best of it. We are making the best of it. Having said that, the next generation is going to suffer.
We just don't have
So we got
anything.
to do something, otherwise there will be wars, there will be conflict, because there will be no energy, and then people will start fighting for energy. Tomorrow people will start fighting for waste, and that's not a far-fetched thought, because if that waste is going to give you energy, nobody is going to part away with their waste.
Right. Obviously. So like,
Like I don't part away with my waste. Even if I go to a hotel, if there is leftover, I take it all back. That is mine. I paid for it. I might as well give it to Vayu.
Yeah. So as we're like discussing that day as well, like it's not the question of if, it's just the question of when.
Yes. And how? Whether we'll make it happen causing more and more suffering, conflict, more and more war, or we will stand up to this challenge and ensure that the transition happens smoothly. Now that is,
Especially in country like ours, we don't have oil reserves, so everything that we use is imported, so it has a huge economic cost on us, right?
yes, indeed so. So since I'm not using LPG for the past 3 years, I have helped contribute to reducing our foreign exchange burden
At one point, yes.
at little at my level.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I was just reading
So
about
give
that.
up your, yeah, we
That
give
has,
up your LPG subsidy, and now we need to give up our LPG also.
yeah. Like people have to understand one thing. I just read a couple of hours back that how government decides the fuel price, right? So when you are using LPG, government is the one who is deciding your price. But you have something like Vayu in your house, you are the one who is deciding everything. It's not government. You're saying you have to pay like 2,000 rupees for that cylinder. You paid once, and that's it. It's done for your life.
Yes, in some sense, true.
So like when people install devices in their houses, it's just a one time sale that you do, or is there some subscription model or something like that? Like how customers pay you?
So right now we just, the customer buys the product. Hmm?
Okay.
And we definitely offer service. So there is a particular activity that needs to be done every 6 months. We need to service the device. We offer that service. We keep reaching out to our customers, and that's an opportunity for us to go back and interact with our customers to ensure they're using their device properly. We share with them all the new learnings that we have learned over the past 6 months. If we have made some improvement, we ask them if make that improvement in their device. So that's, and if we develop some new product, for example, recently we started using electric lighters. So we now do offer it to our customers because it does make life a little easier. So this is how we keep communicating with our customers. Then we recently developed our sewage biogas system. So we now go back to our same supporters and ask them, now would you like to even manage your sewage in a sustainable way? And many of them adopt the new work that we have done. So it really helps us to keep in touch with our customers.
It's
Because
basically a one time sell, right? You buy it one time. That's what it is.
yes, and we ensure it works for a lifetime.
So like that's the like actual device and technical part of it. So just come back to the initial point that I said, that the second part is the human part, right? So I just want to know like what experiences do you have to share with us about like of the people who used Vayu, like what are testimonials, what how their lives changed, something like that. Do you have any experiences?
Well, many of them share with us because it's a living system and you are feeding it and it is giving something back. Many of us tend to connect with it emotionally. It is another living member in our family, sort of. So you feed it, you feed Vayu and you have your own food. Okay. So many people, so they are a family of 4 and they say this is the 5th member of our family. Okay. Then some of our, for example, we have such deep connections with our customers that we end up we develop a very family kind of connection with them. So unlike, suppose I was just selling them a fridge, or do you know the last person who drove you from your Uber, or for that matter delivered your Swiggy food? But in this case, because these people are really passionate about doing something, they end up connecting with us very passionately, and that has built a very powerful network of supporters. And I think these are together, now we are going to be able to really take the impact to the next level, because all these people are willing to walk with us to take this movement ahead.
It has created a
So they are,
community.
which is why actually we call them friends of Vayu Mitra. So our website also vayu-mitra.com, that thought came from the fact that, hey, these are all friends of Vayu.
Right.
So it's like a community.
Yeah, so it has created a community rather than just customers.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so you're talking about your sewage system as well, right? So I think you have multiple products other than that one biogas, right? So tell us a little bit about your products, like what various products, other products that you have other than that biogas.
Right. So we developed the sewage system, and that was a very, very thrilling experience for me, and an experience which continues to give me tremendous satisfaction. Sewage, as you know, is something that is really considered dirty. And although our toilets look clean inside our house, the mess that we have created by making the sewage pipeline system is probably one of the dirtiest creations of mankind, I would say. Because a large chunk of it, first of all, goes into a river untreated. And secondly, humans, people, living people like you and me, they have to enter this drainage system to clean it. And people die when they enter these systems. And this, how can this happen in 21st century India? In 2022, now we are in 2022. It just doesn't feel right that we can call ourselves and this is not valid for India only, huh? I mean, all cities have drainages only. Besides, it is such excellent natural microbial liquid, and all we do is put it in the river when we can actually grow so well on that. So what we are trying to do with our system, and we call it Rajahans. Rajahans means, I consider it the Rajahans of waste management. What was considered really dirty is converted into wealth. And no human has to actually do anything to clean it. So that's the second system that we have developed. We have started installing this in bungalows, in ashram shalas, anywhere where the toilet cleaning, okay, will be controlled. That's where we can set up Rajahans, because we also need to use natural cleaners to clean the toilet. The second solution or second business opportunity that we are really working hard on is a cafe, which we call Cafe Climate. So my laboratory is at my farm, where we actually synthesize the microbial culture for setting up new systems. And for that, we have to feed it and we have to keep it in very high, in a good condition. And because of that, we end up generating far more gas than we can utilize at the farm. And so one fine day we just put a board and started this cafe. Of course, the name Cafe Climate came much later.
Hello?
Runs on the waste of only cafe which runs on the waste of other people. So not only are we not generating waste, rather we are managing other people's waste to run our cafe. So we are waste negative. And it's the world's only cafe which doesn't use LPG to cook. Within a year's time, hopefully, my dream is that a large chunk of the food that we serve at the cafe will be grown at the farm itself, entirely naturally. So, we add another aspect of sustainability, which is about how we grow our food, how naturally we grow it, and the food miles, how locally we grow it. So, all these aspects are going to be covered in this cafe, and it's a place where you can actually live a day which is climate friendly. So we
Basically,
would love to give people that experience.
your cafe is carbon neutral. Basically, it doesn't have any carbon footprint.
Yes. Yes. And we also have two jungles over there, one of 500 trees and one of 1800 trees. So, in terms of the carbon sequestration that they are going to do when the jungle grows, it would not be wrong if at some day we can proudly say that we are carbon negative. We acted as a carbon sink.
So about that sewage system, so did you implement it anywhere, or is just in the pilot or prototype phase?
We have about 5 installations till date.
So it's just in initial phase.
Yeah, initial phase of installation. So now we'll start getting this. Now we have started pitching for it vigorously.
Right. So that's a very good thing that we are moving one step at a time into that climate change problem. So one thing I wanted to know is that since we are talking about the government in just 5 minutes back, so are there any government subsidies that people will get if they use biogas? Because that will just give
Well, the
will
only subsidy that is currently available is the saving in property tax by the corporation. And that too, it depends on corporation to corporation. Not all corporations are giving this deduction in tax. But other than that, sadly, there is no subsidy for this work. The GST on renewable energy devices was 5%, that was increased to 12%. On the one hand, COP26 happened, and on the other, the tax was increased. So I am at a loss to understand actually what logic is driving this kind of conflicting policy decisions. But gradually, honestly, we do not have the power actually to influence policy right now. And therefore, we accept that, and therefore, we are not focusing on that. Right now, we just want to go to.
Yeah. So the reason I was asking was that if there are some policies that will help the biogas owners, that might give them some another economic incentive, so that it will be a part of your pitch that okay, you can get these economic benefits as well from the government.
Yeah.
So I thought that
Yeah,
can be
but yeah, that's a bird in the bush right now. It's not a bird in the hand. And it's something that we don't have much influence on. So we have decided to make this possible even without government support.
Yeah. So
that's the tough challenge that we have to take as social entrepreneurs.
Yeah. So the way I came to know about your company was through a newspaper article. So basically, you won a competition as well, right? So tell us a little bit about that competition. What was that?
Yeah, the Green Skills Innovation Challenge, which was launched by Ashoka International and HSBC. And the challenge was about, are we able to create skills, green skills, which are going to make us climate compliant? is our work contributing to creating such a skill? And there were about 350 applications worldwide, from which 12 were selected. And our pitch was that wherever Vayu is installed, so if I ask you a question, can you make your own energy? But if you set up Vayu inside your house, you can.
Like a one-line pitch.
Okay. Yeah. So, and this skill is required by you in the future. So wherever Vayu is set up, the skill to make their own energy has already come. Okay. And the second more important aspect of our pitch was that today I don't get my cooking gas from HP, BP. I don't get cylinders, or neither do I get it from piped gas, natural gas. I get the supply of my gas is given to me by a lady whose name is Manju Kumbhar, and she is a Swachhata Karmachari. Up till now, she collected waste and put it in the corporation vehicle. Now she operates my Vayu. She's an energy supplier. She feeds my Vayu. And I pay her the value of the energy that she supplies me. And this is a new green job that we have created. It gives them 10 times more earning than they would have earned by simply collecting waste. So if she gets 50 or 70 rupees to collect waste, she is earning 500 rupees by supplying energy per month. And if she supplies energy to 20 such people, she can make a much better and dignified living than what she's doing now. Plus, it is going to solve the waste problem, food waste problem. Plus, it is going to offset fossil fuel, which is a direct bullseye climate intervention. And all this happens locally. We did not have to fight a war to make this happen. So this was the green skill which was recognized and for which we were one of the winners. And now what we are learning, that these Swachhata Karmachari, we are going to train them to be entrepreneurs, energy suppliers. Okay, they will have a good sales pitch, they will have excellent quality collaterals, and they will go. Maybe one fine day somebody will come knocking to your door. Would you like to shift to renewable energy to cook? This is the economics, this is what will happen, this is how we'll do it. Somebody will come and you will stop using LPG or piped gas and you will shift to energy which is generated from waste of your own building. So that day is not too far away. We hope to do that really soon.
You are helping them to increase their wage, right?
Absolutely. They will no longer be safai karmi, they will no longer be kachre wala. They will be doing an energy supply job. And tomorrow, if you have a problem with your Vayu, they will come and solve it. They will become energy technicians or energy engineers.
Basically, those are the people who are the most marginalized. So we need something that can uplift them, right?
Yes. And I personally believe that this is the future. The future is about how more and more people can live with dignity. The future is about how everything that we do is done by taking care of environment. Not just managing waste, but everything that we do. Okay. So this is the future. How we can wean ourselves from this entire global supply of fossil energy. How we can become independent and self-dependent. Not just us, everyone. So we have to go and walk in this direction, and how we can ensure that this becomes a market solution where we can compete with the existing options available which cause a damage to the environment or which are creating indignity to a certain class of people. So these are the questions that I feel I should take up these challenges as an entrepreneur who wants to solve a social problem.
So since we are on the topic of entrepreneurship, this will be like my last question. We also discussed it last time we met, but for the audience, I want to have it on record. So basically, the question I want to ask is that So just couple of days back, there was a startup named Zepto. Okay, so what that startup does is it delivers food, groceries to you in 15 minutes from wherever you are, right? So that got a massive investment uh, just couple of days back. So what people were saying that, and those the founders of that startup were actually studying in Stanford. They drop out, they came to India, and they started the startup. So like a discussion or a debate, I would say, going on Twitter, that people are saying these are one of the most smartest brains that we have, and these people are working on how to deliver groceries in 15 minutes. Like, people, if it's a 30 minutes is okay, it's not a that bigger problem. But when we have a problem like climate change, which like which might render our species extinct if we don't do something in that direction. So like, and on the other hand, our smartest brains are working for delivering groceries in 15 minutes. So people are saying like this is a you like wastage of brain, that people are not working in the right direction. So since you are an entrepreneur, you work in the climate sector, you yourself is an IIT Bombay graduate. So like, what is your take on this? Like,
Well, I went through a similar introspection when Zomato was listed, and their IPO was the initial public offering was around 9,000 crore rupees. And what I introspected was key, if it's not the problem of Zomato, it's my problem. It, it is me as a social entrepreneur who's not willing to talk to the market in this language. If my solution is really, so we are supplying energy now, whereas Zomato is supplying food, delivering food. Okay, so we are also doing something, we are doing something of far more value. Then what is stopping me as an entrepreneur in going out there in front of the world and solving it by involving more and more people financially? So this is how I have decided to take an inspiration, that to really solve the problem at scale now, how I can learn from these kind of stories that are coming out. It means people are willing to support or contribute. Bhale, they want to do it because they will, maybe tomorrow the share value will go up and all that. Okay, fine. That will happen even with our work, because we are here to stay. We are working on a subject which is never going to die. So for me, actually, I look at it positively. And maybe 5 years from now, we will be also listing our work through an IPO, and we will try to solve this problem at scale. So that's how I look at these happenings.
basically,
We
it's
should not be shy. We should not be shy and stay in your own little bubble and cocoon. If we really want to go out there and ensure that the problem is solved, we need to also learn to speak this language. That's how I will take it.
it's basically the another way to look at solving uh, social problems, right? So what my take is that what happens is people who work in like solving social problems, they usually like, we don't want to earn money, so we don't want to go into that, right? But at the end, if you want to solve some problem at a scale, you have to go through that organizational structure, financial structure, systems, all these kind of things, right? So it's on the side of social entrepreneurs to learn from them, right? You have to, there is no other way. You have to go it.
Yeah, and actually, I'll tell you what, the choice is not about making money or not. The choice is about what path takes you towards solving the problem.
Right.
I mean, if it can happen without finding a paying customer, I'm okay with that. If it can happen by finding a paying customer, I'm okay with that. So it all depends on what problem you are choosing to solve. I'll give you an interesting example. You have heard of Sindhutai Sapkar, okay? She recently passed away. I used to find her work very, very inspiring. She was focused. I mean, so focused. Her only objective was that all the children that are living in her orphanage. Single-minded focus. Now, I was thinking that, Arey, she's also solving a problem, na? There are so many children who don't have parents, they are orphaned, and she's giving them an opportunity for a dignified life. Her model was different. She went and asked society to help her in her cause. There was no customer relationship as such. Well, so it depends on the problem that we are trying to solve. Okay, and what are the needs and what is the nature of that problem, the scale of that problem, etc. I feel personally the kind of work that we are doing is extremely conducive for a for market solution. I mean, market solution, sorry. And I think therefore we need to learn this language of getting investments, and we learn it. We have been late at that, but never mind, it's never too late.
So it was a great pleasure talking with you, and I hope that more startups like you come into the picture so that you can help each other out and you have a very good future. So thank you for talking with us, and uh, I wish that we'll get another chance when your company becomes a bigger company than what it is today. So what you are expecting. So
Sure, and I look forward. It's a very exciting process, definitely, to be running a startup, and it's a very satisfying process also. So yeah, even I look forward to being there with full health and full mind and focused to really make sure we create the impact that we have desired to make. So yeah, thanks for conversing with me.
so all the people who wants to like connect with him, wants to know about Vayu. So all the links related to the Vayu and his personal accounts will be listed in the description. So basically, we will provide his LinkedIn profile and everything. So if you want to install Vayu, that would be great. You can go to their website and call. And if you want to connect him personally, want to know more about Vayu, what they are doing. If you're interested in their work, wants to help in some way, you can do that as well. So we'll give all the information in the description. You can connect with them.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Ganesh.